I solemnly swear that I am up to no good.
Carpe diem. Seize the day.
Just act normal, just laugh. There's two cool guys laughing.
We skipped school.
Lucas!
Are we in trouble?
Okay, so I'll tell you about some sensible mischief.
Please do.
I got into as a kid.
Makes me happy.
So when I was in middle school, I was hanging out with this kid that lived on the next street over that, you know, like I knew him from church and stuff, but he was a grade below me. We weren't super close friends,
Yeah.
but just somehow one day we ended up hanging out.
Okay.
And, you know, we were having a lot of fun, and he invited me to sleep over at his house, and he invited some other friends, and I was kind of the odd man out because, like, everyone was, like, in his grade.
Yeah.
So I was a little older, but we were having a lot of fun. And then his older sister, who I think had just graduated high school at the time,
Okay.
came over pretty late at night with this guy. And yeah,
Scandalous.
and they're like,
Oh. Well, I do declare.
I don't think anything untoward
A
was
gentleman
happening.
caller.
But so they walked in and they were like, "Oh, good." They're like, "This house is full of middle school boys. We need your help." We're like, "What's going on?" They're like, "Oh, we're gonna saran wrap this guy's car."
Okay.
Which I had never heard of. I had done a lot of TPing,
Yeah.
but I had never saran wrapped a car. This was kind of exciting.
Yeah.
They had these like big rolls of saran wrap from Costco.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, we're just gonna wrap this guy's car in saran wrap.
Okay.
Do you guys want to come help? And, you know, like,
Of course.
yeah, that's irresistible to a gang of middle school boys.
Yeah.
And so so we went out and they took us to the spot and we started saran wrapping this car. And then whenever we would see headlights, which, like, it was after midnight,
Okay.
and this was just like a residential area, so
Yeah.
there wasn't a lot going on. And I'm from just a really quiet neighborhood on the east side of Salt Lake City, so these headlights started coming up the street.
Okay.
So we like dropped the saran wrap and we hid in the carport of this was so stupid.
What do you got?
We hid in the carport of the house that we were saran wrapping the car that was parked down the street. And we're all like huddled there together, like in the shadows, and we realize, like, this older guy that we were with, he was like, "Oh, it's a cop." And we're like, "Oh no, it's a cop."
Yeah.
And he was like, "Don't worry, we're in the shadows. He can't see us unless he uses the spotlight." And the second he said spotlight, and we're just like,
Oh no.
yeah, and
Scatter!
Like, well, exactly. Like, we were so stupid because, first of all, we hid on the very same property that we were saran wrapping.
I'm gonna say, yeah, not the smartest move.
We all hid together. Like, we were the worst criminals of all time.
Fair enough. Yeah.
And
all right.
you
Yeah,
know,
I played a lot of cops and robbers back in my day, and
Exactly.
that's everything that you're not supposed to do.
Exactly. Like, it was so stupid.
Huh.
And so I don't know what the cop was expecting,
Yeah.
but I doubt it was that when he shined his spotlight into that carport
See,
to have, like,
a murder of children.
well, to see,
just-
like, 6 children come out with their hands up because that's all we knew what to do.
I give up.
So we come out.
I give up.
And, like, it must have been, like, a slow night.
Yeah.
Because by the end of this, there were, like, 4 sheriff's cars there.
Wow, okay.
Yeah, for a saran wrapping.
Yeah.
And we
This has to be Utah.
yeah, absolutely. Like, very quiet night in Utah. And so we come out and they're like, "Sit on the driveway, sit on your hands." And so we had to sit on our hands. And, like, there were a couple dudes that were just like, we could tell they were trying not to laugh. They just thought this was stupid, but like they wanted to make an example of us or whatever.
Yeah.
So they're like running us through this deal where we have to sit and like sit on our hands.
Yeah.
But then there was this like middle-aged woman
Okay.
who was like, she was really trying to guilt us. She's just like, "Oh, boys, this is just so wrong." And she's like, "It's not safe for you to be out here. Do you know what
Right.
kind of..."
Her house is next. Let's go.
Exactly. She was like, "Do you know what kind of people are out here at this hour?" And my friend leaned over to me. He's like, us.
Fair enough.
Like
Yep.
we're the worst this neighborhood has.
Yeah.
And so they, one by one, they would like question us, ask us who we were, ask us
Yeah.
our parents' names, ask us our parents' phone number, and then they would call our parents to come pick us up.
Okay, I was gonna say, could you just give a fake number
And-
and just be like, "Oh, hey, my parents are dead." And you're just like, "Oh."
And so you would think that, but like we're just a bunch of
I
like
get ya.
12-year-old Sunday
Believe me, I
school
get ya.
boys. Like we're just like so scared.
Yeah.
And so we're just like totally cooperating, probably over cooperating, coming out with our hands up. But and so I remember this one kid, his mom was the first to show up, and she came and like grabbed him by the scruff of his neck,
Really?
yelled at him, threw him in the back of the car, and drove off. And so that really set the mood for what was going on. And when my mom showed up, I got in the car, and she just kind of like looked at me sternly and started driving. She's like, "Okay, so what's going on here exactly?" I was like, "We were saran wrapping the car and we got in trouble." And she just started laughing.
Yeah,
She
yeah.
thought it was
Oh,
super
okay.
funny. Like
All
my
right,
parents
yeah,
were
yeah.
super chill about it. And
Yeah.
like, she's like, "Well, what happened?" I was like, "Well, we hid in the carport." She's like, "You idiot!" Like, okay. So my parents were really chill about it.
Yeah.
My mom did tell me that it scared her to death though to get a phone call at like 1 a.m.
Yeah.
with like, "Hey, this is the Mill Creek Holiday Sheriff's Office.
I
Do you have
can
a son
imagine.
named Morgan?"
I'd
And
imagine
she's
that'd
like,
be really freaky.
"Yes."
Yeah.
Like, that's scary. But then, like, well, you need to come pick him up.
Yeah.
And that's a little less scary, but still kind of scary. But for saran wrapping a car, it's
Yeah.
like whatever.
Nothing.
So yeah, that's some sensible mischief
Yeah.
that I got
love it.
into as a kid.
I love it. Makes me happy.
Pretty unsensible though, because we were pretty stupid and naive. But
Honestly, just anything to be able to tell stories later on in life,
Yeah.
I feel like it's kind of worth it. Because, like, I mean, yeah, that's a one. Like, I genuinely don't know. Like, this is really stupid, but like, I've always wondered. Do you remember in Harry Potter, the third one, where there's a closet that whatever you're afraid of comes out of the closet?
Mm-hmm.
I've always wondered what it'd be for me and stuff. And for me, the only thing that I keep thinking about is like, I'm just afraid that I won't live enough. Like, I mean, I'm not afraid of dying. It's that I haven't lived enough is the main thing. So yeah, just, I mean, always get into sensible mischief is what I advise people. I remember you told me about your driving instructor.
oh boy, which one?
The one that's like, what happens when 4 people...
Oh yeah.
So that one, if you could just tell
yeah.
a couple stories about
Okay,
him.
yeah. So my driver's ed teacher at my high school was Coach Kawa. He was the boys wrestling coach.
Yeah.
/ driver's ed teacher.
Awesome.
And he was just this funny.
What is it with, like, because I think mine was a wrestling coach too.
Oh, really?
Like, is it part of the job description? Like,
I guess.
Like, hey, here are the key. Like, here's the keys to the gym. They're the keys for the driver's ed car.
Yeah, I remember at the end of my time as a missionary,
Yeah.
my mission president had everybody that was going home within like the next 3 months or so come to like a special meeting with him, where he just kind of doled out some life advice.
Okay.
And he it was, a lot of it was just very standard, but one of the things he said, he was like, go home, get an education, don't major in history. And we all just kind of like looked at him,
Okay.
and he was like, unless you want to be a high school football coach. And I was like, my history teacher in high school was the football coach. So
Yep.
it just
Checks out.
Yeah, it does. So driver's ed, wrestling coach,
Yeah.
history, football coach.
Makes sense.
But so anyway, yeah, he was just this funny Korean guy, Coach Kawa. The rumor was, and I never substantiated this, but the rumor was that he had a twin brother,
Okay.
and that sometimes for whatever reason he would send his brother to teach the class. And so supposedly, like, I may not even have had the same guy the whole school year. But I don't know if that was true or not. But like the guys on the wrestling team who knew him like swore by it. They're like, oh yeah, he totally has a twin brother who sometimes comes to work for him.
I had a boss that worked at a movie theater that he had a identical twin brother. And there was one time, I didn't know it at the time, but so I was working in the projection booth. So I'm like standing next to him. And then his twin brother walks in. And then I'm just like, what the heck? Like, I was like, am I like about to get like possessed by a demon or something like that? He's like, oh, have you not met my twin brother? I was like, oh, Jacob, why didn't you? I just went crazy for a second in my mind.
That's funny. Yeah, twins are interesting. I always kind of wished that I had one. Yeah. Because you can really get into some sensible mischief if you have a twin.
Yeah.
But yeah, so this driver's ed teacher, he was just a funny guy. He would just tell us funny things. This is going to get racist. I'm going to do my best Korean impression. This is not a Korean impression. This is not a racial state. This is just me doing an impression of Coach Kawa exactly as he spoke. That's what this is. But so he would like quiz us in driver's ed class. He'd be like, "Oh, okay, what happened if 4 cars come to 4-way stop at the same time? Who go first?"
And then people would just be like, "Oh, the one on
the..." We'd be like, "Oh, the one on the right," whatever. And he'd be like, "You're all on the right." And so like we're trying to like figure out the right answer. We're like looking in the book. Yeah. And he was like, I think someone even was like, the bigger car goes first. And he's just like rolls eyes like, no. And he's like, "I will tell you the truth. You will all awkwardly inch forward until one of you is brave enough to go." It's like,
yep,
checks out.
That's true. Yep.
That's how it works. Yep. So yeah, with Coach Kawa, we got both what the state of Utah wanted us to know, and also just the stark realities of driving. Yep. So he was a lot of fun.
Oh, that's awesome.
One time, he was wearing like a polo shirt that had some Korean letters embroidered on the left chest. And as I walked in, I was like, "Hey, Coach Kawa, what does your shirt say?" He said, "It says peace, which I need, with vodka." And I was like, "Oh, really?" He's like, "Yes, because of you." I was like, "Oh, thanks." Driver's ed teachers drinking vodka because of me, apparently. Yeah. So yeah, driver's ed was a lot of fun. Yeah. I cheated on my driving test.
Like my grandpappy always said, if you ain't cheating, you ain't trying hard enough.
That's right. Yeah, so we had 2 tests. We had the range test and then the field test.
Okay.
And so the field test was just, you go out with an instructor and drive around the city and whatever. The range test was, there was this one part of our school parking lot that was designated as the driving range. Yeah. And most of the time it was just like part of the parking lot. But then like during certain times of the year, they would block it off. Students couldn't park there because they had this like fleet of awful Geo Metros that were like 15, 20 years old. Man. That we used on the range. Some of them, they called them the skid cars because, Utah is very snowy and icy. And so part of our training was in these skid cars. And the skid cars, they were just normal cars, but on the back wheels were replaced with like shopping cart wheels that were just like on a swivel.
Yeah, I know the ones you're talking about.
And they could be either locked in place or they could swivel. Yeah. And so what would happen is our instructor would be like, "Okay, drive to the other side of the range at this speed." So you'd get up to speed, and then they would yell "ice" or something like that, and they would activate the swivel, and they would jerk your steering wheel, and that would make you spin out.
Really?
And so that was to train us how to, and it worked. I've gotten out of a lot of skids in my life, and I attribute it to being in the skid car.
That's the one.
But so anyway, we at the end of the year we had this test on the range, and they like would set up all these obstacles and everything, and I was paired up. They had 2 of us per car, 2 students per car, and I was paired up with Josh Merrill, who I knew since preschool. We were never like close friends or anything, but it's just funny that I had known him pretty much my whole life. Yeah. And I hated parallel parking. I never got it right. He loved parallel parking. He thought it was like the coolest thing in the world. And so all there would be like 5 or 6 of these cars going around doing the range.
Yeah.
And then our instructor would just stand in the middle with a clipboard, just kind of watching everybody.
Yeah.
And so we came up to that's how I remember. It may have been different, but so we come up to like the parallel parking part, and Josh was driving.
Yeah.
And he did a perfect parallel park.
Yeah.
And I was like sweating. I was like, I can't parallel park.
Yeah.
And so, and then, you know, a guy's there with the clipboard, not even really, he's like, okay, good job, switch.
Yeah.
And so what we did is we got out, went all the way back around to our original spots, got back in, and then Josh parallel parked again.
Good on Josh.
and yeah, that's, and you know, it's like, all right, good work.
Yeah.
And like, he didn't even care who it was. He just knew that it happened twice. And so
That's crack up. Oh, man.
so that's how I cheated on my driving test.
Yep.
My driver's licenses have probably been invalid all this time, but I've never gotten a ticket. So
Well, good on you.
I can drive, and I can parallel park now. That's a necessary skill in the city of Eugene.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Unfortunately, I do have a lot of tickets.
yeah, I've been pulled over several times.
Yeah. You're one of those guys that can always talk your way out of it.
Well, and that's the thing is I don't really feel like I do.
Yeah.
It,
I just whenever I have gotten out, I've just been very honest with the cops. Like they're just like, "Do you know how fast you're going?" I was like, "I do." They're like, "Okay, how fast?" About 15 over. He's like, "Okay, what were you doing?" Honestly, I just wasn't paying attention. And then I saw you and I kind of freaked out. He's like, "Okay, fair enough."
The first time
Move along.
the first time I ever got pulled over, it was in this car that we bought from our neighbors. It was this orange BMW.
Yeah.
But it was like beat up. It was from like the 70s.
Oh wow.
Like there was nothing luxurious about this particular BMW.
Yeah.
Our neighbors that we bought it from, they called it the Pumpkin. So the name just kind of stuck.
Fair enough.
But I was at this stoplight late at night. And then I turned right for some reason, even though my house was straightforward. And turning right was kind of a last minute decision. And so it was kind of a goofy turn.
Yeah.
In fact, I was sitting at the red light and I decided, I think I decided to like go to the store or something. And so just out of the blue, because in Utah it's legal to turn right on a red light, but there was like no indication I was going to do so until I decided to, and I just kind of did it. And then as soon as I did it, the car behind me lit up, and it turned out that it was a cop. And I was like, oh crap, like that was a bad turn.
Yeah.
And so I pulled into this parking lot, and the cop, she comes up to me. She was like, do you know why I pulled you over? And I was like, that abrupt turn? And she was like, that was kind of a goofy turn, but no, your plates are like 3 months expired.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, I guess I better get those registered, huh? She's like, yeah, license and registration, please. And so I leaned over and I opened the glove box, and this was in my fireworks days.
Yeah.
And a bunch of firecrackers, which were illegal in Utah at the time, I think they still are, fell out of the glove box. And I'm like, oh, I am toast.
Yeah.
And I just like turned and looked at her, and she's like, license and registration plate.
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah, it's right here. And so I don't know if she just didn't see it or if she just ignored it or whatever. But so I handed her the paperwork and my license and everything, and then she was like, get the car registered, and let me off. So
Oh, that's nice of her. And also, she's just blind as a bat, apparently.
Yeah.
So we'll take what we can
literal contraband is falling out of my glove box.
Fair enough.
And she's just standing there. So
Yeah.
whatever. I've been very lucky
Yeah.
getting pulled over. I got pulled over in Park City late one night for an illegal U-turn that I didn't know was illegal, and got off for a warning.
Yeah.
I've
Lucky
been pulled over
bastard.
like 6 times. Never for speeding, which is
Yeah.
weird because I've lived here in Eugene for 2.5 years.
Yeah.
But I drive like I'm in Utah, which I don't know if any of you will know what that means, but in Utah we drive like crazy.
Yeah.
Like the speed limit on the highway on the interstate is 80 miles an hour. Here in town it's like 55.
Yeah.
And everyone obeys it, which is strange. And so I'm always, just every day, I'm just flying up and down the interstate here in Eugene, just like going. And they do this thing here. I call it the Northwest Roadblock because I've never seen it anywhere but Oregon and Washington. But it's where two cars will
just stay the exact
same speed,
yeah.
which is so awkward because I'm always passing people because you don't want to be right next to someone.
Yeah.
Like, what if they look at you? Ugh. And so it just drives me
Whenever
nuts.
that happens, though, I always try and get a paper, scissors, rock game going with them. I'm just like, you want to? All right, fine.
That's a good idea.
Yeah.
I should try that next time. But yeah, so like, I'll be in the fast lane, the passing lane.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, trying to crawl up their tailpipe to get them to move.
Yeah.
And they're just da-da-da. And I can't pass them on the right because there's somebody right there.
Yeah.
It's the weirdest thing. I've never seen it anywhere but Washington and Oregon.
Yeah.
It's the only two places I've ever seen it.
That's crazy.
And they're usually going below the speed limit, which is already 55. So, yeah. Drivers here are people complain about Utah drivers, but whatever. At least we get where we're going. Unlike here.
Fair enough. Let's see. What's the best life advice you've ever gotten?
Oh boy. The best life advice I've ever gotten. When I was a kid, I liked to meddle. And I was just very not metal. All right. Like you meddling kids.
Okay.
I
was gonna say I don't see you as a punk rocker back in the day. Like you're just screaming the lyrics to Inner Sandman. Just sleep with one eye open.
And I think most kids kind of just have an inherent sense of justice.
Okay.
Unless they're trying to get out of something. And I think mine was like especially heightened for some reason.
Okay.
And so anytime I saw like something wrong, I'd be like, we've got to fix it, this is going wrong. And it drove my dad absolutely nuts.
Yeah.
And one thing he would always say to me, like when I would be meddling, is he would say, don't mess, which was like his way of saying like, don't mess with it, leave it alone. And so as I've gotten older and I've kind of cooled down, like there have been times where I've been like about to meddle and I'll hear my dad, don't mess.
Don't mess. Okay.
And it just like that stuck with me.
Yeah.
And I think it's been good advice in a lot of situations. I think there are some areas where, there is an obligation to maybe get involved if you need to. But for the vast majority of things, I don't need to be involved. And so don't mess.
Yeah.
That's some good advice.
I love it. Well, I'm excited for the program to come out.
Me too.
Thank you for coming on the air. I appreciate it.
It's been
great. Fun.
It has.
Look at you beautiful bastard. You make me happy. I look at that smile. You can't help but love it.
Learned it all from you.
It's adorable. People actually said that we look alike. So I was just like, I'm just really subconsciously I'm complimenting myself. I'm just like, look at you, you handsome devil.
When you first moved
with
here,
your
head
rapist wit.
I think it's supposed to be rapier wit.
You mean rapier? No, I think I said it right. I think I said it right.
No. But yeah, when you first came here, your head was shaved.
Yeah.
And there was actually some people at church that had thought you were me.
Yeah.
And like had approached you.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Good times. Happy day.
At least from the back, we look alike. And this has been Sensible Mischief.
Thank you for watching. Have a good week.